you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back.
All right, all you positive heads, welcome one and all. Thank you so much for joining me on this magical today. And today I'm going to get into a listener's question. This is a question that I know that this isn't only this listener who is going through this experience. I know that I myself have had this experience. And so I'm going to share my own perspectives and also my perspectives now because I went through that a little while ago in my life. And even the things that I'm now learning about relationships, because this is a continual process. We're always learning. It's a journey. And what our relationships are actually teaching us is about ourselves. So let's get into this question. And I'm going to leave this person's name out of it, just in case she doesn't want to be named. I never know. So I like to just err on the side of leaving names out of it. But I'm going to go ahead and read the email that I received. I've been listening to the Positive Head podcast for a little over a year now. It has truly changed my life. Help me see perspectives I didn't know were possible. Think objectively about things before jumping into what my ego wants to tell me and more. Although I've grown, taken accountability, and changed so many things in my life for the good, there's one thing that I can't seem to stop. I broke up with my partner about 1.5 years ago for cheating, deceptive, and manipulative purposes. Because I was with this person for 4 years, I found it extremely difficult for me to stop talking to them. I'm a people pleaser, and the thing is, I know it's not good for either of us to keep in contact and be around each other, but it truly feels like a highly addictive drug or gateway when I do see them. My fears are hurting my ex-partner and the unknown of not finding someone who knows me as well as them. The other thing is the other day you shared a podcast about brutal but sincere honesty with others. Brutally and honestly, I want to move on, find a husband, and start my family. Everything in my life is lined up. New house, new car, new pet, left religious community. It feels amazing. But I know in my heart the last thing I need to do to gain my last desires of my own family is to let my ex-partner completely go. I become frustrated with myself, knowing I need to let go, but I just won't. I fight with myself every day about it. Almost feels like I truly have two opposite sides of me going on every day about this subject. It's frustrating and aggravating for me. I feel stuck in a limbo. And this last thing truly feels like it's a big key or lesson for the rest of my manifested fulfillment. Any thoughts or ideas regarding this would be amazing. I look forward to them. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you so much for this question because, like I said before, you're not the only one that's going through this. And I think that as we go through your email, what we're going to do is find a lot of answers that are already in here that you know. So the first thing, I'm going to go backwards just for a minute. The first thing that I want to say is that this is a huge lesson. This is a very big key lesson. All of our relationships, the ones that are like this, the ones that are long lasting, the ones that we feel so strongly connected to, are humongous life lessons. And what they are is they come into our lives. These are soul contracts that we have with these beings. So we know exactly what we're getting ourselves into before we come into this life. We have this plan with this person, and this person is going to teach us a certain thing. And in your case, this person is showing up and cheating, being deceptive and manipulative. And so the first question that I will ask is, what did you learn from that? What did you learn about yourself, about your feelings, about how you react, about what that does to you? How do you then behave after something like that happens? So there's so many questions that we can look introspectively at ourselves. All right, how did I feel? How did I take this? How did I move forward? And this lesson, these key lessons, are going to be presented to us in our lives over and over and over again in different relationships until we actually get them. And so I really appreciate you reaching out with this question, because what I would love to see for you is to be able to get this lesson, to really move forward, understanding this thing about yourself, and to be able to bring in that partner who then mirrors this new understanding of yourself. We're going to get into that in a little bit. So the other thing I'm going to say is that we all have these two aspects of ourselves. There's, some of us want to call it the ego and the higher self, or the inner being aspect, or, left brain, right brain, the devil on our shoulder, or the angel on our shoulder. We all have these two polar aspects within ourselves that are constantly kind of battling, it feels like, because our intuition, our inner being, our heart knows the answer. And then our head, our ego, our inner child, our trauma all comes in from that other side and is like, yeah, but. And so this is part of that human conundrum. So we all have this. The thing is, what we can always rely on, what we know, is what our heart knows is the answer. And you said this very, very clearly. You said, what I know in my heart is that I have to let this go. And that's the last thing that you need to do in order to bring in that new partner. Well, it's one of the last things, because in order to bring in a new partner, one of the first things we need to do is open up that space. Because if that space is being kept by someone else, then you don't have the space to be open to meeting someone else. So that's really big. The other really big part is, where are you in your center? How do you feel every day? How are you taking care of yourself? How are you loving yourself? Because wherever you are is what you are going to then pull in. So let's get into this being a people pleaser. All of us people pleasers out there, we always want to help people and not hurt anybody's feelings. And the thing is, what we're actually doing is hurting people's feelings by trying to please them. If we were actually brutally honest with them, then they would have the chance, the opportunity to then react to whatever that feeling is within them and then to move forward. Otherwise, everyone just stays in this limbo of assumption or I don't know-ness. And that never feels good. No one likes that feeling. And so to be able to be brutally honest with how we feel is key. And so when we don't want to hurt another's feelings by telling them, I want to move on, I want to completely let you go, it's inevitable. We also don't know how that other person's going to feel, how they're going to take it, how they're going to react. We're making assumptions there. And we may be right. We may be hurting their feelings. But we're hurting their feelings. We're ripping that Band-Aid off so that everybody can move forward. Otherwise, we let that Band-Aid stay on and fester. And it just gets harder and harder down the line because this letting go is inevitable. Time will always bring us there. It's just how much time are we willing to drag it on, to drag both people through this scenario? Because while we think we're pleasing another, we're actually doing the opposite. We're harming both of us in that people-pleasing type of behavior. We think we're doing a good thing, but we're actually not. The best thing we can do is just be open and honest with our feelings and give that other person the opportunity to have theirs. Otherwise, it's prolonged, it's harder, and we get to learn. We all get there eventually, but we can go a little bit faster. We can take those steps a little bit faster if we are more honest. And the thing is, maybe it's not so easy to let go. So we take baby steps. We take it slow. That's fine, as long as we're taking that step.
Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you.
So the steps that I would like to see you take is, for example, when you feel like sending that text message, start with something really simple. You want to reach out, you're thinking of that person, you want to send that text, don't. Just don't send it. Do something different. Distract yourself into something different, and that something different is about you and not them. So when we are people-pleasing and wanting this type of relationship because it feels good, it's about really wanting that feeling, that love feeling, because that feels good. So instead of getting that love feeling from out there, from someone else, turn it around and get it from yourself. So if you want to send that text or make that phone call, go take a walk in nature, or do a facial for yourself, or a pedicure, or something fun, a massage. Go do something for yourself that makes you feel good. Practice all of these self-care practices, because what this is really about is looking for love outside when we really need to look for it inside. This is something that so many of us do. We get caught up thinking that it's out there. And there's, like you said, there's this one person who knows me so well. And we get fearful that there's not going to be anyone that can know me like this or feel this way about me. And that's the fear talking. You said it yourself. You have these fears. That fear is always an illusion. It is never, ever, ever true. anyone who's ever had that feeling before can look back in their lives and be like, oh yeah, I felt that before. And it's not true. There are, an infinite amount of beings out there that can feel all sorts of kind of ways about you. And it's not about them. It's about you getting to know you. So when you get to know you and take time with you, it's a game changer. And so what I would suggest is that even though you've been apart from this partner for a year and a half, you take time for you because you still haven't fully separated from this person, because you're still getting that dopamine, that love, that addiction thing from them, because it feels good, because you're not giving it to yourself. So when we can give this love to ourselves, then we don't feel like we need it out there. We don't need to go and pick up that thing that's going to give us that dopamine hit, because we can create that within our own selves. And this is the main thing that I think so many of us in relationships, in life in general, are going through, these lessons of self-love. Because when you look at the things that have happened in this relationship and what you're learning from them and what they can teach you and what they may be mirroring to you, how in your life do you feel cheated? How do you feel unworthy or maybe less than? How often do you feel that you're being lied to or that you're lying to yourself? How often are you trusting yourself? In terms of being manipulative, how much are you standing in your own power? When we stand in our own power, we are unable to be manipulated because we can see clearly. When we come from this place of loving light within ourselves, we cannot be manipulated. We won't allow ourselves to be manipulated. So when we get in these situations of cheating, deception, and manipulation, it's all about standing in our power, listening to ourselves, trusting ourselves. Because these mirrors out there are saying, you don't trust yourself, you're not listening to yourself, and you're not taking care of yourself. You're not standing in your power. And so we're reflecting that to you in your external environment. And all of us experience this. All of us. Because we're all here learning these lessons of self-love, of love in general, of how to love one another. And we can't love one another in the way that we really, really want to until we love ourselves in this way. Through learning to trust ourselves, to listen to ourselves, to speak our feelings when we have them, as opposed to choking them down to, not cause any conflict or to hurt another's feelings or whatever it may be. Choking these feelings down is just not being honest with yourself, not being honest with the other person. And it doesn't do us any good. What it ultimately will cause is dis-ease in the body. And so the longer we continue these practices, these behaviors, these destructive patterns against our own selves, then the body will start to send us the message, and we won't like it when that happens. So it's way easier to take care of that before it comes to the body. We don't want it to go that far. So we all need to start stepping into our power of love, loving ourselves and others, knowing that we are part of one united whole, and that the more we each step into our power, be honest with ourselves, listen to our heart, trust ourselves, follow those feelings, the more we help others do the same. The more we're honest about our feelings allows other people to have their feelings and move along in the direction that they need to. While it feels like it's more difficult to be honest about our feelings, it's actually a whole lot easier. It's a whole lot easier for everyone. And the hearts aren't as broken as we think they're going to be. We never can control how another person feels. We can only look to ourselves and follow our hearts, trust ourselves, and stand in our power. Always speaking how we truly feel. And In this case, speaking this to the ex-partner, telling the ex-partner how exactly you truly feel, and letting him know this is how you're going to proceed because you have to for you. And that's it. No other explanation needed. It's what you are doing for your self-care, to build yourself up, to stand in your power. We all need to do this more and more, standing in our power, in our heart center, listening to our inner being. I think that's it for me today, everyone. I love you all so much. I am going to leave you with this song by Ayla Nario called Take It Slow. Until next time, I love you all.
Take it slow. Don't get in your way. Keep it moving. At the pace of every weather, look within. And don't forget you are surrounded by the wind as it rushes in your lungs. Oh, honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. You are tide crashing over and call of the mountains in your darkest tunnels, or where your light come from. So take it slow. What you long for is on its way, and don't stop reaching. Taste the sound of every color deep within. Let your wild be uncaged, run with the wind and rush into its lungs. Oh, honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. You are tide crashing over and call of the mountains in your darkest tunnels, where your light come from. Oh, aim for the journey and grow with the night. Be brave in your loving, keep steady your side. Oh, honey, you are born of the moon, precious cave. Don't forget there is unknown inside you. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. Don't turn away from yourself by being like somebody else. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. Don't turn away. You are tide crashing over and call of the mountains and your darkest tunnels, or where your light come. Don't turn away. Don't turn away.